Gratitude is the state of mind that turns ordinary moments into blessings and transforms challenges into lessons. It is not just about saying thank you for the good things in life. It is about recognizing the value in everything, even the painful, difficult, or uncertain times. When you live with gratitude, your perspective shifts from what is missing to what is present, from complaint to appreciation, from restlessness to peace. Gratitude is not blind optimism, it is deep awareness. It teaches you to see that every situation, no matter how hard, carries something to learn, something to strengthen you. It brings balance to your mind and calmness to your heart. In life, it is easy to focus on what is wrong, on problems, delays, and disappointments. The human mind tends to amplify negativity because it wants to protect you from harm. But gratitude rewires this habit. It redirects your attention to what is working, to what you still have, and to how far you've already come. When you focus on appreciation, your emotional energy changes. Fear, anger, and envy lose their power because gratitude cannot coexist with negativity. It opens your eyes to the silent blessings that are often taken for granted. Health, breath, family, shelter, opportunities, and even the strength to face another day. Gratitude also helps you rise above triggers and emotional chaos. When you are grateful, small provocations lose importance. You stop reacting to every negative word or situation because your heart is anchored in appreciation. Gratitude grounds you. It reminds you that peace is not found in perfect circumstances, but in how you see and respond to life. Even in difficult moments, there is always something to be thankful for. A lesson learned, a truth revealed, or an opportunity for growth. When you find that silver lining, pain becomes purpose. Living with gratitude also changes your relationships. When you appreciate people instead of criticizing them, you bring more harmony into your environment. Gratitude softens the ego and strengthens compassion. It reminds you that everyone is doing their best with the awareness they have. Expressing sincere gratitude, even in small ways, creates connection and trust. It reminds others of their worth and reinforces positivity within yourself. Gratitude must be practiced consciously. It is not enough to feel thankful once in a while. It must become a daily habit. You can start by acknowledging a few things each day that you are grateful for, no matter how simple they may seem. Over time, this practice reshapes your mind. You begin to wake up with appreciation instead of anxiety, to face challenges with perspective instead of frustration, and to end each day with peace instead of complaint. The person who lives in gratitude cannot be easily triggered or shaken because they live from fullness, not from lack. Gratitude turns every situation into growth, every obstacle into wisdom, and every moment into a gift. When you master this mindset, you naturally rise above all, calm, content, and deeply alive. Self-discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. It is the quiet force that shapes your destiny when motivation fades and emotions fluctuate. Many people wait to feel inspired before taking action. But discipline does not wait for feelings. It moves with purpose, no matter what mood arises. To stand above all and remain unshaken by life's triggers, you must develop discipline of the mind, emotions, and actions. Discipline is not restriction, it is liberation. It frees you from being controlled by impulses, laziness, and distractions. Without discipline, even the greatest dreams remain only ideas. With it, ordinary people achieve extraordinary results. Self-discipline begins with small choices. It is built in moments when you want to react but choose calm, when you want to give up but continue, when you want comfort but choose growth. Every time you make these choices, you strengthen your inner willpower. Over time, discipline becomes your natural rhythm. You no longer need external motivation because you operate from commitment rather than emotion. Discipline gives structure to your energy. It directs your focus toward what truly matters, instead of scattering it on temporary distractions. The greatest form of discipline is mental discipline. The mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. It will try to pull you toward ease, avoidance, and excuses. But discipline teaches you to observe those thoughts without obeying them. You begin to act not because your mind says so, but because your purpose demands it. When you master your mind, no trigger can easily break your focus. You can stay calm and consistent even when situations test your patience. That steadiness is a mark of inner power. Emotional discipline is equally essential. It means learning to feel emotions without being dominated by them. Anger, sadness, and fear will come, but you do not let them taint your words or actions. You breathe, you reflect, and you respond with awareness. This emotional steadiness allows you to lead with clarity, not confusion. It also protects your energy from being drained by unnecessary drama. When you remain centered in your emotions, you radiate confidence and calmness that others naturally respect. Discipline also builds self-trust. When you consistently do what you say you will do, you start believing in yourself on a deeper level. You no longer need approval or validation from others because you trust your own strength. That trust turns into peace. You know that no matter how chaotic life becomes, you will stay consistent, focused, and grounded. Ultimately, self-discipline is not just about controlling your habits, it is about controlling your life. It teaches you that success, peace, and self-mastery are not achieved by chance, but by choice. By the small, deliberate actions you repeat every day. When you live with discipline, you stop being a prisoner of circumstance and become the architect of your destiny. It is through discipline that you truly rise above all, walking with purpose, balance, and unwavering strength. Inner silence is the highest form of strength, a state where your mind is no longer ruled by noise, chaos, or unnecessary thoughts. In today's world, where distractions surround us and everyone is racing to speak, prove, and react, silence has become rare. Yet it holds immense power. Inner silence does not mean the absence of sound, it means the absence of disturbance within. It is a calm state of awareness, where you observe without judgment, where you are fully present but untouched by external noise. When you cultivate this stillness, you stop being a prisoner of your thoughts and emotions. You start living from clarity instead of confusion. This silence allows you to hear your own truth, to connect deeply with your intuition, and to act from wisdom rather than impulse. Most people are uncomfortable with silence because it exposes what they try to avoid: their fears, insecurities, and unresolved emotions. They fill every moment with words, noise, or distractions just to escape facing themselves. But silence is not something to fear, it is a teacher. When you sit quietly with yourself, you begin to see the patterns of your mind. You notice how quickly your thoughts jump from one worry to another, how emotions rise and fall like waves. Over time, this awareness brings calmness. You start realizing that you are not your thoughts or emotions. You are the one watching them. That realization changes everything. The moment you can observe your mind without reacting, you are no longer its slave. Inner silence also strengthens emotional control. In silence, you learn to respond instead of react. You understand that not every situation needs your voice or your opinion. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. When you remain silent in the face of negativity, you protect your energy. When you pause before speaking in anger, you prevent unnecessary pain. Silence gives you space to think, to understand, and to act wisely. It transforms chaos into clarity. Moreover, inner silence enhances your connection to life itself. When the mind is quiet, You begin to notice the beauty in small things. The sound of the wind, the rhythm of your breath, the stillness between heartbeats. You feel deeply connected to the present moment. This connection brings gratitude, and gratitude brings peace. You stop rushing after what's next and start appreciating what is. Achieving inner silence requires practice. It may come through meditation, mindful breathing, nature walks, or simply moments of still reflection each day. The key is consistency, returning again and again to that quiet space within until it becomes your natural state. Once you master inner silence, you carry peace wherever you go. No matter what others say or how loud the world becomes, your inner world remains calm and unshaken. That silence becomes your power, your guide, and your protection. It is in silence that you truly rise above all, grounded, peaceful, and free. Detachment is one of the deepest forms of freedom you can ever experience. It does not mean you stop caring or stop loving. It means you no longer depend on external things for your inner peace. Detachment is the art of being involved without being entangled, of caring deeply without losing yourself. When you are detached, you understand that nothing in this world truly belongs to you. Not possessions, not people, not even outcomes. Everything is temporary and everything changes. The problem arises when you hold on too tightly, when you expect life to go exactly as you imagine. That attachment becomes a source of endless disappointment, because life will never fit into your expectations. Detachment, on the other hand, allows you to flow with life instead of fighting against it. When you practice detachment, you begin to see things clearly. You stop reacting to every rise and fall of circumstances because your happiness no longer depends on them. You might lose something valuable, but you do not lose yourself with it. You might face rejection, but you do not let it define your worth. You might face failure, but you do not let it steal your faith. Detachment gives you balance. It allows you to stand still in the middle of change, to remain calm while others panic. This kind of strength does not come from control, but from surrender. Surrendering to the truth that everything in life is temporary, including your own emotions. True detachment is born from awareness. You start observing your own attachments, how certain people, outcomes, or desires control your mood. You begin to question why you feel anxious when things don't go your way. Slowly, you realize that the root of suffering is not the situation itself, but your attachment to how you want it to be. Once you see this clearly, you begin to let go. You stop trying to control what you cannot, and you focus instead on controlling your reaction. You live with acceptance instead of resistance. This doesn't mean you give up on goals or relationships. It means you engage with them fully but without fear of loss. Detachment also deepens your relationships. When you stop clinging to people or expecting them to fulfill your emotional needs, love becomes purer. You no longer love out of need or fear but out of freedom. You allow others to be who they are without trying to change them. In this way, detachment brings peace where attachment once brought tension. You remain open, kind, and present. But you are no longer controlled by the fear of losing. To live with detachment is to live lightly. It means you can enjoy what comes and let go of what goes without being destroyed by either. You walk through life knowing that everything is temporary, yet appreciating it all deeply. Detachment is not coldness. It is clarity. It is living with open hands and an open heart, trusting that whatever is meant for you will stay, and whatever leaves was never meant to. That trust is what keeps you unshaken, peaceful, and truly free. Forgiveness is the final and most powerful step in standing above all. It is not about excusing the actions of others, nor is it about pretending that pain never happened. Forgiveness is the act of freeing yourself from the weight of resentment. When you carry anger or hatred in your heart, you are still bound to the very thing that hurt you. You may believe that holding on gives you strength, but in truth, it drains your peace, poisons your thoughts, and keeps you tied to the past. Forgiveness is not a gift to the one who wronged you, it is a gift to yourself. It releases you from emotional imprisonment and opens the door to inner peace. When you refuse to forgive, you continue to relive the same wound again and again. Your mind replays the betrayal, the insult, the disappointment, as if trying to find justice through repetition. But justice never comes that way, only suffering does. The past cannot be changed, but how you carry it can. By forgiving, you take back control of your heart. You declare that your peace is more valuable than your pain. It is not about forgetting, but about understanding. You understand that every person acts according to their own level of consciousness, their own pain, their own ignorance. People hurt others because they are hurt themselves. Seeing this truth allows compassion to grow where bitterness once lived. Forgiveness is also a sign of deep strength. It requires humility to let go of the need to be right or to seek revenge. The ego thrives on resentment because it gives it a false sense of power, the illusion of control over what happened. But true power lies in releasing what no longer serves your soul. The moment you forgive, you rise above the energy of anger. You shift from being a victim of your past to being the master of your emotions. You begin to see that every painful experience taught you something invaluable. Patience, boundaries, resilience, or self-worth. When you view the past through the lens of growth instead of grief, healing begins naturally. Forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. You can forgive someone and still choose not to allow them back into your life. Boundaries are a part of self-respect. Forgiving simply means that you are no longer carrying emotional poison inside you. You have accepted what happened, learned from it, and moved forward lighter and wiser. The ability to forgive is the ultimate expression of freedom. It means that nothing from your past has the power to disturb your present peace. When you reach that state, you no longer react from pain. You respond from wisdom. You walk with grace, understanding that life's experiences, even the difficult ones, were all shaping you into someone stronger and more compassionate. To forgive is to rise above not just others, but your own limitations. It is to stand free, peaceful, and unshakable, untied from the past and fully alive in the present. To rise above and choose peace every time is to reach the highest level of inner mastery. It means that no matter what happens around you, you refuse to let anything disturb your state of mind. You no longer depend on people, situations, or outcomes to feel calm because your calmness comes from within. This is not an easy path, but it is the only one that leads to true freedom. The world will never stop testing you. There will always be noise, negativity, and provocation. But when you rise above, you become untouchable. Not because the world has changed, but because you have changed your relationship with it. You stop being a victim of your surroundings and become the creator of your own inner world. Choosing peace is not a sign of weakness or indifference. It is a sign of immense strength. It takes courage to stay silent when you are misunderstood, patience to stay kind when others are unkind, and discipline to stay calm when chaos surrounds you. Every time you choose peace, you are affirming that your energy is too valuable to waste on conflict. You are declaring that no one and nothing has the right to control your emotions without your permission. Peace becomes your power, and calmness becomes your greatest weapon. When you stand above all triggers, you stop seeking revenge, validation, or dominance. You begin to see things from a higher perspective. You understand that everyone is acting from their own level of awareness, their own pain, and their own limitations, Instead of reacting with anger, you respond with understanding. This does not mean you tolerate disrespect or injustice. It means you handle it with clarity instead of chaos. You can walk away without hatred, speak without shouting, and act without aggression. This is the true definition of strength. Quiet, steady, and controlled. To rise above also means to choose growth over ego. The ego wants to fight, to prove, to win. But the higher self wants to understand, to learn, and to remain at peace. When you operate from this higher state, you realize that not every battle deserves your energy. Some arguments are not worth winning because they cost your inner peace. When you stop responding to negativity, it loses power. You rise above by not participating in what lowers your vibration. That is how you protect your inner world. With time, this choice becomes natural. Your calmness will begin to influence those around you. People will feel your energy and respond to it. Instead of being drawn into the chaos of others, you will inspire them toward balance. You become a living example of peace in action. Strong, compassionate, and unshaken. Rising above does not mean you are detached from life. It means you are fully aware, deeply grounded, and in control of yourself. When you choose peace every time, you stand above all. Not to show superiority, but to embody true power, the kind that can never be taken away. Every trigger in life carries a message, and behind every emotional reaction lies an opportunity to learn. When something or someone triggers you, it exposes a part of yourself that still needs understanding or healing. Instead of seeing the person who upset you as an enemy, you can see them as a mirror reflecting something within you. This change in perception transforms irritation into insight and pain into progress. The truth is, life does not send triggers to punish you. It sends them to teach you where you still need to grow. But most people avoid this lesson by blaming others, thinking that if the world changes, they will finally find peace. Growth, however, begins when you stop asking why others behave a certain way and start asking what the situation is teaching you about yourself. If someone's words easily make you angry, maybe it shows that your sense of self-worth is still fragile. If you feel hurt when you are not acknowledged, perhaps it reveals your attachment to validation. If criticism from others causes you pain, maybe it means you still measure your value through their approval. Every trigger is like a flashlight, pointing directly at the parts of you that need attention. Instead of escaping the discomfort, stay with it. Observe what you feel and ask why that feeling exists. The answer may not appear immediately, but the awareness itself is a step toward healing. Turning triggers into teachers also means breaking the cycle of reaction. When you see your emotions as teachers, you stop wasting energy fighting against them. You no longer view uncomfortable moments as failures, but as training for your inner strength. The more you face your triggers with calm awareness, the less control they have over you. They gradually lose their power because you are no longer feeding them with resistance or blame. Each time you choose to reflect instead of react, you gain wisdom. You begin to understand that peace does not come from avoiding difficult people or situations. It comes from mastering yourself in the presence of them. Some of your greatest lessons will come through people who challenge you the most. The ones who irritate or disrespect you unknowingly give you the opportunity to strengthen your patience, humility, and self-control. In this way, even negativity can serve your growth if you approach it with awareness. Life will continue to place you in situations that test your limits, not because it wants to break you, but because it wants to show you how strong you can become. When you stop running from your triggers and start learning from them, you evolve. You begin to live with deeper understanding, compassion, and wisdom. The same things that once disturbed your peace will no longer have power over you. They will simply remind you of how far you have come. That is the beauty of growth. The very storms that once shook you become the training grounds that make you unshakable. Emotional control is one of the purest forms of self-respect. When you can stay calm in the middle of conflict, chaos, or criticism, you are not suppressing your feelings, you are mastering them. To control your emotions does not mean you do not feel anger, disappointment, or sadness. It means you understand these emotions and choose not to let them dictate your behavior. Many people believe that reacting quickly shows strength, but in truth, it often reveals weakness. The stronger person is the one who can remain composed while others lose control. Emotional control is the ability to stand firm like a mountain even when the winds of provocation blow fiercely around you. When someone tries to disturb your peace, they are testing your boundaries and your sense of self. If you react instantly, you hand over your power to them. You let them control your inner world. Every time you get drawn into unnecessary arguments or negative emotions, you drain your energy and weaken your focus. But when you choose calmness instead, you send a clear message to yourself and others: my peace is not for sale. This is where true self-respect begins. You no longer need to prove yourself through shouting, defending, or competing. Your silence becomes your strength, and your composure becomes your armor. Emotional control also protects your mind from unnecessary suffering. When you allow anger or resentment to stay within you, it eats away at your energy, clarity, and happiness. By learning to regulate your emotions, you prevent negative energy from taking root inside you. It's not about pretending that pain does not exist. It's about not letting pain become your identity. You acknowledge what you feel. You breathe through it, and you release it without letting it control your next action. This practice takes discipline, but each time you manage it, you grow mentally stronger and emotionally lighter. Self-respect and emotional control are deeply connected. If you value yourself, you do not let others decide how you should feel. You do not let their words lower your vibration or dictate your mood. You protect your peace the way a guardian protects a sacred space. The calm person is not detached from life. They are fully engaged but deeply centered. They respond with understanding, not reaction. They know that peace is more powerful than any argument, and silence can often teach more than words ever could. In mastering emotional control, you become a steady presence in an unstable world. People will sense your balance and begin to respect it, even if they don't understand it. You no longer chase validation or fight to be right. You simply live from a place of calm strength. That is self-respect. Knowing you are in control of yourself, no matter what happens around you. It is the quiet confidence that nothing outside can shake what is strong within. When you reach that level of control, you stop living as a reaction to others and start living as a reflection of your own inner peace. Between every situation that happens to you and the way you respond to it, there is always a small but powerful space. Most people move through life without ever noticing this space because they live in automatic reaction. Something happens, and instantly emotion takes control. Words are spoken, actions are taken, and often regret follows. Yet, within that brief gap between the trigger and the response lies freedom. It is in that moment that you decide who you are going to be: a slave to emotion or a master of your own mind. This small space is where awareness meets choice. It is where calmness begins to grow. It is the difference between chaos and control, between inner peace and regret. To use that space, you must first learn to slow down. When someone provokes you, take one conscious breath before reacting. Feel the air entering your lungs and leaving again. That single breath gives you time to think, time to observe, and time to choose your next move. The breath is your anchor. It pulls you back into the present moment. In the present moment, you are no longer trapped in the storm of emotion. You are not replaying the past or worrying about what others think. You are simply here, grounded and aware. That single breath becomes the bridge between instinct and wisdom. When you respond instantly, you act from habit, from old emotional conditioning. But when you pause, you create a gap wide enough for understanding to enter. You might notice that the situation isn't as serious as your mind first believed, or that the other person's behavior has nothing to do with you at all. Many arguments, misunderstandings, and regrets can be avoided simply by allowing this small pause to exist. You do not have to respond immediately to everything that happens. Silence can be more powerful than words, and calmness can disarm any conflict. Every time you choose to pause, you train your mind to operate from strength instead of impulse. This space between stimulus and response is also where self-mastery is born. You begin to see that no one can make you angry or sad without your permission. People can act however they want, but your reaction is your responsibility. The more you practice staying aware of that gap, the more natural it becomes to remain composed in every situation. Over time, this calmness turns into a quiet confidence. You no longer fear confrontation or chaos because you know that your peace cannot be stolen without your consent. This is not weakness, it is discipline. Ultimately, life will never stop testing you. People will still say things that hurt, events will still unfold unexpectedly, and challenges will still arise. But if you can remember the space between what happens and how you respond, you will always have control. In that space lives your freedom, your wisdom, and your power. That is where you rise above everything. By choosing calmness over chaos, awareness over reaction, and peace over pride, in life, you will encounter people who test your patience, situations that challenge your peace, and moments that pull you out of balance. The truth is, life will always give you reasons to react. But the real strength lies not in reacting, but in rising above. The greatest victory is not over others, but over yourself. When you learn to control your emotions, instead of letting them control you, you begin to stand on a higher ground. A place where no one can shake your inner calm. Awareness is the silent power that separates those who are controlled by their emotions from those who control them. Before you can master your reactions or rise above triggers, you must first understand what is happening within you. Most people live unconsciously, moving through life reacting to whatever happens around them. Someone says something offensive, and anger arises instantly. A small inconvenience occurs, and frustration takes over. They do not realize that every reaction begins from a place of unawareness. Awareness means to wake up in the moment, to see clearly what is happening both outside and inside. It is like turning on a light in a dark room. When the light is on, you can see everything clearly. You can see where the obstacles are, what causes pain, and what needs to be changed. Without awareness, you stumble, blame others, and wonder why peace feels so far away. Becoming aware begins with observation. When you notice your emotions as they arise, you create distance between yourself and the emotion. You begin to see that anger is not who you are, sadness is not who you are, fear is not who you are. They are simply passing visitors, temporary states that enter and leave your consciousness. The moment you observe them without judgment, you weaken their power. You stop feeding them with energy. Awareness acts like a mirror reflecting what is real. It shows you your own patterns, your tendencies to react, and your attachment to certain outcomes. The more aware you become, the more freedom you gain. Instead of reacting, you can choose. Instead of being pushed by emotion, you can respond with intelligence and calm. This practice of awareness does not mean you will never feel triggered again. Triggers will still appear, but awareness transforms how you experience them. When someone tries to provoke you, you will notice the first spark of irritation, the tightening in your chest, the urge to speak or defend yourself. But because you are aware, you can pause. You can take a breath and simply observe what is unfolding. In that pause, something magical happens. The reaction loses its grip. The situation no longer controls you. You are the one watching it from above, steady and calm. This is where true power lies, in the ability to remain aware when others lose themselves in chaos. Awareness is also the foundation of self-understanding. It allows you to see why certain words or actions affect you deeply. Maybe they touch old wounds, insecurities, or unresolved emotions. Without awareness, you would blame others for your pain. But with awareness, you see that every trigger is a reflection of something within you. You begin to take responsibility for your own state of mind. You realize that peace does not depend on changing others, but on observing and mastering yourself. Awareness transforms pain into wisdom and confusion into clarity. It is the first and most essential step towards standing above all, unshaken and free.